Greetings everyone, this is Danny Pang. Today I'm going to be watching a video called The Count of Monte Cristo by Extra Mythology. I've heard bits and parts of the story of The Count of Monte Cristo. Is a story about revenge, how he was framed or something, and then he came back and took revenge of his framer. But I never actually completely read the literature, so let me have a look and see what the how the story goes.
Literature gives us the opportunity to experience lives, perspectives, and worlds different from our own. Though remember, friend, a good story has many readings, and this is but one.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, super specific hypothetical question for you. Imagine, if you will, that you're in a prison, but not just any prison, an enormous medieval fortress on a craggy island with crashing ocean all around it. And you're currently residing in the deepest, darkest part of that prison's dungeon. You've been imprisoned for 14 years for a crime you didn't commit, and you are itching to unleash some payback on the men who put you here. But the only things you have that can be used to help you escape are a makeshift knife and the corpse of your best friend sewn up in a burial sack. So, what do? Well, as everyone who's read The Count of Monte Cristo knows, what you do is... Wait, what? You haven't read The Count of Monte Cristo?
No, I haven't.
Oh, la vache. Thanks so much to HelloFresh for helping us bring this story to the table. So you haven't read The Count of Monte Cristo? Okay,
No, I haven't.
Not a problem. We'll get you caught up quick so you can impress some pop culture scholars and escape that dungeon. Picture this. You're a 19-year-old French sailor named Edmond Dantes. You're about to be promoted to ship's captain. You have a beautiful fiancée named Mercedes, and the respect of all of your friends and coworkers. Pretty sweet, right? Well, yes, but there are two problems. One is a sailor named Danglars, who basically just hates you because he's totally jealous, and the other is Mercedes' cousin, Ferdinand Mondego, who wants to marry her, and will do anything to make that happen. So the two of them send an anonymous letter to the authorities accusing you of being a secret supporter of the exiled Napoleon Bonaparte. Now don't worry, the Crown Prosecutor Villefort knows you're innocent. But on the other hand, if he catches a supporter of Napoleon, it will snag him that sweet promotion. What to do? Where's my raise? Now you've been put in the aforementioned dungeon of the notorious Chateau d'If, a prison from which no one has ever escaped. And after 6 years of solitary confinement, just as you're ready to give up all hope, you hear a scraping sound just on the other side of the dungeon wall. Suddenly, the mad priest Abbe Faria bursts through the wall into your cell. He's been trying to tunnel his way out of this awful prison. And over time, he becomes your BFF. He teaches you everything you need to know. He deduces exactly who framed you. And he also tells you about a hoard of treasure he buried.
How did he know who framed Monte Cristo?
Island of Monte Cristo. Man, useful guy, this Abbe Faria. Like the Swiss Army knife of sidekicks or something. Then, after another 8 years of working together to escape the prison, Abbe Faria grows weak and dies. His body is placed in a burial sack, and at that moment, you see your opportunity to escape. Here's how you do it. First, you take Abbe Faria's body and put it in your bed so the guards think you're asleep. Then you climb into his burial sack, sewing it up from the inside. The guards then carry your body outside the prison to the cliff overlooking the sea, and toss you into the ice-cold water below. But you managed to hold your breath. And using your makeshift knife, cut your way out of the bag and swim to the surface. Liberty! Congratulations!
What happens if the guards decided to bury him? I think I've seen this film called Buried Alive. It's a similar situation. The guy who was in prison tried to escape by pretending to be a dead body. He had a friend, or maybe he paid one of the prison guards to take his body outside of prison so he could escape. Oh, no, wait. It was, the plan was he hides in one of the dead people's coffin so he could be transferred out of the prison and then escape. So he conspired with one of the prison guards to dig him up after the coffin was buried so he could escape. But then the plan worked, kind of. He hid in the coffin, and then the coffin was transferred out of the prison and then buried. And as he was waiting for the prison guard to dig him up, he suddenly found out that the prison guard was the dead body. So there was nobody to dig him up. And he had to stay in the coffin with the dead guard's body, and forever, till death. It was a very freaky story, but I don't know, for some reason that reminds me of this story here. Luckily, they threw him off the cliff instead of burying him, so kind of lucky in some way.
You've just escaped the inescapable prison. So now... yes, Zoe, true, but I think this would be a good time to discuss a little bit about the author of The Count of Monte Cristo, Alexandre Dumas. Back in the 1800s, Dumas wrote dozens of plays and stories, including The Three Musketeers.
Hey.
The Count of Monte Cristo, however, was first published in the French newspaper Journal des...
Did he write Scarlet Pimpernel as well? Because that's sort of in the similar era. Robin Hood? I don't know.
Dumas from 1844 through 1846 as a 16-part serial, which means his fans had to wait for months between installments, kinda like how we sometimes have to wait for the next episode of our favorite shows today.
I'm still waiting for the second half of season 11 of The Walking Dead. When is it due? Come on.
Dumas also found inspiration in the life story of his father, who was the first person of color in the French military to achieve the rank of brigadier general. Actually, Dumas based many of his stories on real-life historical people and events. For instance, The Count of Monte Cristo is actually based in part on the true story of a shoemaker who was falsely imprisoned by his rivals and then returned to seek revenge. But you know what? We're getting dangerously close to extra history territory, and I am not encroaching on Rob's turf. So let's jump back into Dantes' shoes. You're rescued by a passing ship that takes you to the island of Monte Cristo. And there, you find Abi Faria's treasure that he was always blabbering about. Now rich beyond your wildest dreams, you buy both the island of Monte Cristo and the title of Count. Because, you know, back then the rich could basically get whatever they wanted, not like today. Then you travel around the East for 9 years, training and plotting your revenge. And when you're finally ready to return to France, you are no longer Edmond Dantes. You're something different. A symbol that strikes fear into the hearts of your enemies. You've remade yourself as... No, not Batman. Don't be silly, okay? You've remade yourself into the rich, highly educated, fearsome, and mysterious Count of Monte Cristo. Oh my god, it's just Batman. It's Batman. Okay, well, not to worry, because each of your 3 enemies had a little glow up as well, also becoming rich and powerful. But that's not gonna stop your vengeance. Your first target is Ferdinand Mondego, now known as the Count of Morcerf, the man who put you in a dungeon for 14 years just so he could marry your former fiancée and his cousin, Mercedes. Through cunning disguises and an intricate plot, you ruin his reputation in Paris. Then once Mercedes learns how Ferdinand ruined her chance at happiness with you, she and their son turn against him, and he takes his own life. That's one down.
So he did marry Monte Cristo's ex-fiancée.
Next, you go after Villefort, the prosecutor that knew you were innocent but condemned you anyway. Now, this revenge is a wee bit more complicated than the last one, but some of the major points include a disputed inheritance, a bit of a poison rampage from Villefort's wife, Villefort demanding that his wife commit suicide or go to prison, a revelation that Villefort tried to murder his own illegitimate son, Villefort's wife killing both herself and a different one of their sons, and finally Villefort going insane. Okay, that got a little out of hand. You know, now that we're standing on top of a growing pile of bodies, maybe we should rethink this whole vengeance thing before anyone else gets hurt, right? What do you think? Oh, but on the other hand, your last enemy is the worst of all, and he's right over there. Your former shipmate, Danglars, the mastermind of the whole plot. He's now an extremely wealthy baron, and he doesn't recognize you as the Count. So you pretend to be his friend, do a 180 and completely bankrupt him, and then you imprison him, just like he did you. At last your revenge is complete. What's the matter? You're still feeling guilty about the son of villain number 2, huh? Yeah. Well, I guess you could forgive Danglars since you want to be forgiven yourself. What do you think? Yeah, nicely done. You really are the Count of Monte Cristo. In its time, The Count of Monte Cristo was translated into dozens of languages and became one of the most widely read stories in the world. Not to mention in present day, it's been made into a ton of TV shows, plays, and movies. But we still read the original today, because not only is it a thrilling adventure story, but
I remember The Simpsons, one of the Treehouse Horror episodes. They did parody the Count of Monte Cristo with Homer as the Count of Monte Cristo and Mo Sislak as one of the people who framed him. And Mo married Homer's wife, Marge, and had kids like Bart and Lisa, and a whole bunch of other kids who look like Mo. It was very, very disturbing.
also because of the long shadow it's cast over modern storytelling. I mean, really, most of the innocent person seeks vengeance through highly convoluted means tales all owe a bit of debt to Alexandre Dumas. And yeah, that does include Batman. But hey, if you want more, why not read the whole book for yourself? Because honestly, I've just skimmed the surface here today. There's also romance, bandits, daring rescues, close escapes, and so much more action. Dare I say, you'll feel like a daring hero when you read The Count of Monte Cristo. And of course, no swashbuckler worth their salt should engage.
Well, that's that, and gave me a brief idea of what The Count of Monte Cristo was about, and I think that's quite enough. Someone gave me a book in Chinese of Count of Monte Cristo when I was 7. Never read it. Never intended to read it. Never intended to read it. It was one of my missing links of my youth, and now it is sort of completed. Anyway, it was a good video. I'm growing to like extra mythology as well as extra history, which is done by the same channel, I think. And I'm looking forward to watching more of their videos. But that's that video, and that's this video. I'll see you guys in the next video.